Welcome to Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes. This is Grand Arena final match of Week 2, Season 36, and we are working to get caught up on all of these Grand Arena releases. Round 2 was a win, but it was not enough to get us to climb up into Kyber 2. We're right on the bubble, and we're going to need a win in this round in order to get into Kyber 2 for the final week of Grand Arena. But this is going to be a tough match, but before we get to that, we're going to do a quick recap with my opponent, Jargi, here. Now the banners is a little deceptive. It was not as close as it looks. Look at how the defense did: 4 on Melgus, 2 on Maul. My defense performed well enough that I felt comfortable throwing away some matches and doing a lot of testing. So we were able to test out Sana and Zori, Scythe, and the Defender. And it's an interesting match to visit just to see the different squads that we were utilizing. It was a fairly soft defense, so I felt comfortable risking a few banners in order and still getting the win. As we break down the bracket, this is footage that we're talking over from the first round. So my opponent is actually Dark Kappa, not badly. So pay attention to the column that is second from the end, and that is the relevant data for my specific opponent this round. So you can see he has a GP of 8.3, which is lower than mine by about 500k. With the Omicrons, he is low at only 9 Grand Arena Omicrons, and we are looking at a relic depth that is pretty respectable though. 127 is good. It's not scary, but it's still solid, and he's not terribly shallow. He's shallow for what we're seeing, but that's manageable, but we still dwarf him in those categories. But for the rest of the bracket, he's in those metrics one of the weaker opponents. For the mods, we are looking at, here's the relic depth. You can see he's distributed. He's got a lot of tier 5 though, and a decent amount of tier 7, but we're pretty close on at least the tier 7 mods. 6-dot mods, he has a large count, but the mod quality is good in the top 25 averages, a little bit weaker in the top 500, and you can see from the 25 plus, 20 plus, and 15 plus counts, he's somewhat average, comparable to the rest of the bracket, but these are counts that I have significant advantages within. With the Datacrons, he's not really participating, only 2 level 9s and barely any. My counts are way more significant. In terms of his GLs though, you can see he's got Lord Vader, JMK, JML, Sith Eternal Emperor. And in terms of the bracket, he has one of the better sets of GLs. You can also see that he's got SLKR down there. So he's a 5 GL player, and of a combination that's fairly solid. No Melgus. That's one place that we'll have a solid advantage on. He does have a Relic Iden. He has Starkiller only at Relic 5 though. His Wampa is weaker. No Amis on Savage or Traya. Although I think this was the week where they... No, he has no... It may have been the week where they took the Omicron off, but it was still active. I forget which week that was. You can see no Swolo, but a lot of players don't, especially players who don't have Ray. That wasn't a big incentive. And I had Aphra unlocked at this point, but not active. So Aphra being shown on screen she was not active at lock-in. As we move down below, actually we skipped too far ahead. Relic 5 Maul, he's got a good cat, much faster than mine. His Echo's a little slow, no Moff Gideon, Relic 8 Gas, and a decent enough Darth Revan, but nothing to be afraid of. With Fleet, we're looking at no Profundity, so that's another place with an advantage. Breaking down the hotbot, you can see I have a number of advantages in the green. He is in a slightly smaller guild. Undersizes and clears are low, which reflects poor participation. We are seeing the relics we glanced at earlier, but he does have a lot of relic 8s, 5 more than me, but nothing as scary as we saw up against Badly in the first round. That was a terrifying matchup. The GLs are modded well. The other characters are slow. That's a very slow gas. He doesn't need to be that slow. And his Starkiller is a little slow. Looking at his speeds in detail, he's got His Thrawn is his final character above 300 speed, which means he's got 15 characters. It's a little soft. Looking down below a little bit more so you can see the characters who are falling below that threshold, characters like Mara Jade. With his defense, you can see he started attacking first. There's not too much time left in this Grand Arena. First Order gets a surprise hold. Maul gets a hold. Jabba went down in 1, but that's an intentionally weak Jabba. Probably just because I don't have him. Negotiator gets a hold. He's got a weak fleet though, so Negotiator might stand. He might clear it. He was still playing as we record this. So Maul, Lord Vader, Grievous. He has a stout defense. JML, Starkiller, JMK, Grand Inquisitor. And we don't really have enough counters for this. So even though we had all those advantages within the bracket, we are going to struggle to figure out how we're going to approach this. So looking up above again, we've got Maul, Grievous, Lord Vader, and Mon Mothma down below. He has the damage over time. So here's what we're going to do. In order to beat this, I really need one of my gamble counters to work, because we really want Fennec to take out Lord Vader, and I don't have a Fennec squad that can handle that. You'll see it in a second. Sometimes I win with it, sometimes I don't. Usually I'm in a cleanup situation, but what that really means is we need JMK then to clean up Lord Vader. There's not, or at least I don't have an effective enough cleanup for Lord Vader, especially because I did make some tweaks to my defense where I swapped out CLS and Maul in that slot on my defense. And if I had CLS on, or if I had Maul on offense, we would have a few more options, and that's going to come up later. And I'm just talking over footage here so I know how all this goes. And down below, up against those other squads, we've got JML, Starkiller, JMK. I am short counters here. We can take Grand Inquisitor up against JML. The JMK, I'm kind of in a tough position because I need one of two things to be working here. I need to either have my JMK to take out his JMK, or I need to have some luck with my own JML. I don't have another good counter to deal with a JMK situation. The Starkiller also might leave me in a tough position based on having to eliminate some of my other options. I'm going to try and gamble with some counters that don't really work with it. My own Starkiller, I can. One option is I can take my own Starkiller up against the JML team, take the Grand Inquisitor up against JMK, and I've done that in Squad Arena. It is very inconsistent. It can win, but it's really going to be dependent on the modding of my opponent, and the modding here might be in my favor. So we begin with the first gamble of this Grand Arena. So we're going to begin with Bounty Hunters, and you'll see again how these guys look. We got Boba Fett, who I'm hoping is going to help in this situation, because if Lord Vader gets enough dots, Boba Fett can clear him. But we got a Gear 12 Zam, a Gear 12 Karbka. You can use Mando, but I really need Zam's Ami's stat boost to try and keep Karga alive. So that's why I'm using him there. There's a lot of tanks here, so it's going to slow us down a little bit. Everyone's got days, so we can't call the AoE, so we cleanse. Try and land some ability blocks. We get a few. I'm going to spread a little armor shred, but I'm going to be a little indecisive here. I want to get rid of that healing from Shore Trooper. Maybe I should have put the armor shred on Shore. No, there's no days, so I'm going to call in the assist instead of cleansing. I think I'm going to take my Fennec to higher relics, because I really need these kinds of counters to work for me. That's the current big project now that I have Aphra unlocked, other than taking her up to Relic 7, is I want to, like, these key characters needing either to fill out a squad full of relics and to boost a lot of my relics Fennec being higher, Maul getting higher, my GLs all taking them higher. That is going to be how we're going to be improving my roster in the near term, while I'm working on replenishing all of my lost Gear 12 plus pieces, not lost, but all my used up Gear 12 plus pieces that we used to get Jabba and Aphra. So, and I'm working towards Sith Eternal Emperor. So we're still going to have a long time before we can accumulate all the gear that we need for that project. So now we're forced into a position where I've got to clean up a 4-player squad of Lord Vader with my own JMK, which is a disaster scenario for me. Because this means we are losing some key counters I needed up against those other GLs. That's why I want Sith Eternal Emperor so badly, because the Jedi in particular are difficult for my roster to deal with, particularly JMK, unless I'm using a JMK mirror. Because Starkiller we can use up against JMLs. So we don't have as many characters to get through, which is a plus. Cleanse the days. Piet's the most relevant of the 2 remaining, so focusing down on him. Land that, we don't get the healing immunity. Save the cleanse for when days reappears. Hit the ultimate. And rip apart Piet with the mass assist. Now with all the protection up that Lord Vader is getting, I'm just making sure to use basics with Ahsoka to make sure she's clearing it so that I can be getting big hits. Well, I didn't do it. Well, I'm focused on Royal Guard right now. But I want to be clearing the protection up so that my hits from the other characters can be having an effect. You can see me doing it there, because we don't want everyone else have. Well, Shock T can cleanse it too, or dispel it too. Right there, I should have cleansed it, but I guess the mass assist is fine. Dispelled it. I like to say cleanse when it's your own squad, and dispel when it's the opponent. Instead of how CG does it, saying dispel on both. But I'm mixing it up right now as I'm talking about it. Running a little low on time, but I want to manage this because I don't like how the computer, the auto, handles it sometimes. They're going to make the wrong choices with some of these abilities, and I don't want to allow that. But we're now into the red. But we had the healing immunity on. None of that's really having a huge effect. Assist for the dispel. 50 seconds left. And there we go. And when we were dealing with the bounty hunters, we just never got that many stacks of the dots for Boba Fett to even really get a big hit on. Alright, so Grievous here. We're going to do Night Sisters. This is a weaker Grievous squad. It does have a Datacron and IG-88, which is different than what we normally see. IG-88 does have the Zeta, and it's a little relevant because of... I forget how it functions. I get IPD and IG-88s mixed up because they're both target lock mechanic related. Zetas, and one of them is can't gain buffs. I forget what the other one does, and I forget who's who. So it's the type of situation where the target lock on the Night Sisters could be a problem. So I want to get rid of B2 first. Bring everybody back. Everyone's been pretty tanky. I wonder if the AoE with the Plague would have been a good idea there. I could just AoE, and I should have AoE'd with Ventress. Try and take out IG-88, I think. But I'm also doing the basics to drive the health stacking on Daka, because whenever Merciless Massacre occurs, I want to make sure we can survive it. Because you can just see how quickly they're ripping through us. But what you see here is why Night Sisters, I think, are just fantastic and one of my favorite squads. They're just very cheap to invest in and get a big return out of. To be able to deal with like Qui-Gon Jinn squads or Grievous squads, Geo squads, tons of other options that they'll be effective against. They don't work up against Mon Mothma though, because Mon Mothma prioritizes targeting Daka and will mess it up. You can risk it sometimes, but it's a break glass in case of emergency kind of situation. So this Sana up against Mon Mothma, this is a gamble because I don't have relics on Cara Dune and Stormtrooper Han, but it is something that works in the SWGOH data, and it is something that I have used up against weaker Mon Mothma squads, and my Sana can beat some, but the ones that I have been beating with it are usually not fully relic squads. So this is a bit of a risk. But you can see here why the counter works. We're getting a lot of debuffs. We're controlling the field fairly well. The staggers give us a lot of opportunities to take a lot of turns before they're able to take turns. AoEs allow for us to take out Mon Mothma before she can become a major threat. So this time we're going to win with it. I have lost with my particular Sana squad, although maybe when I lost I wasn't using Cara Dune. I can't remember if my losses had Cara Dune on the squad or not. Because there's mechanics with how Sana works with scoundrel tanks that make her very effective on the squad. I think it's like the cooldowns work very favorably. So you can see Dark Kappa started attacking again. He takes out the Melgus squad. Now we're going after Grand Inquisitor. Looks a little scary. He shouldn't be on defense. I think he's too powerful to have on offense. And you can take him out with the Traya squad. And I have all geared, or it's mostly gear 12. I do have Savage here. Savage I don't think is mandatory, but he is... You'll see how he functions. He's just... The security and peace of mind that he offers is very strong. I really like how he pairs up with Traya, and with the Traya unique or the leadership always cleansing all these debuffs, it's going to help Grand Inquisitor gain some turn meter, but they're losing a lot of the benefits of the stacking purge. And then Seventh Sister in particular is very vulnerable because she's always assisting, and the unique from Traya remove, or is it the lead? I'm getting mixed up. From Traya taking out health with the assists. That's the lead, right? Yeah, that's the lead. You don't need relics for the Traya Ami. I think some players have still yet to reapply that Ami, and some players are just slow on it. It's one I wouldn't waste time on. It is still very good. So we've dealt with a lot of the expected and manageable teams here. Now we got to take a few more chances. He has started his second attempt up against Maul. We have our own Maul team to deal with. And if we had my... Oh, okay, no, we're going to use gas. Yeah, this is going to go fine. Gas is a very strong counter up against Maul. We're just going to look for something to make him even tankier to ensure that he stands a little bit longer. I do need to take the rest of these characters up to at least Relic 5. Yeah, so we're going to go with defense and protection. Maybe this protection and crit damage. Got motorcycles driving by again. I love my stretch of road. I'm just working on these AoEs here. This is a strong match for me. I did do a tenacity up early because I wanted to get to the aerial advantage sooner. Because aerial advantage just completely makes this way more tolerable. So we can eliminate Django, and because he can't revive right now with gas lead, we don't need to worry about him anymore. Because we also just don't want to deal with Bam and the damage immunity. Because if he's taunting and there's damage immunity up, then you're just stuck waiting for them to get the turn meter and that to fall off. Oh, he's taking out Aiden, working on that back wall. We're going to jump to the fleet now. This is straightforward stuff. The only I bring this up every match, but I just like to make reminder that I always will bring out a reinforcement up against the Chimera. Because that's how players lose up against the Chimera, and how it gets holds is if that ultimate gets off and you don't have enough ships in the field, then you can lose. I don't think it comes into play this match. Just clearing the foresight. But because it's such a weak TIE Reaper, was giving it a little bit more attention. But as soon as we had an opportunity to land those buzz droids, we took it. Negotiator here, Profundity. This is obviously a strong counter. There's nothing really to pay attention to here. Holding, I threw in bigs because in Squad Arena I do, but I rarely ever call them out. It's not necessary. What I do like to do is use Ghost and Cassian. I think this is a point I haven't brought up in a bit, but it's just, I feel like Phantom's a waste of a turn, because what you really want is to get to the like pseudo ultimate abilities as quickly as possible, and Phantom isn't doing anything to really contribute to that, whereas with Ghost and Cassian, both of those ships, you can call the Outrider specifically for the assists and help drive all the download and upload mechanics. There we go. We're getting decent RNG with the assists, which is nice. There we go. Now Finalizer here, he does a Vessel Care, so it's going to be a decent Finalizer. We are going to do some testing here with the Executrix with the Scythe. I'm still I think at this stage I was still trying to figure out how I wanted to divide up these ships, because what I want to do for next week, or the week of Grand Arena that's going on as we play, is try to figure out how I can put Chimera back on defense and still have a decent enough Executrix fleet to pair with it. And I have come to a conclusion, it is not this. What I think I like to do these days is use Gauntlet on the front lines. TIE Reaper here, the idea is if anything is taken out, it's going to help drive turn meter. And I don't mind that if it is eliminated quickly. It does have a little protection up mechanic, so it can help there. And I don't mind it being taken out quickly because it opens up a spot for the defender to come out as a reinforcement. So that's a good scenario for me. But now I have just lost my Scythe, and that is bad. I'm also being a little indecisive here for which ship I want to prioritize. Like really, I probably should have just stayed focused on Echelon, but I saw an opportunity to hit the Silencer, and if you take out the Silencer, the Finalizer fleet falls apart. But this did not go well for me. We do take out the Echelon, though. We do take out the Sith Bomber, so we do make some progress here, which is nice. But maybe I should have taken in a stronger fleet up against this so that I could have just taken it out in one. And that is going to become relevant later on. So now we do have to clean this up. Now we can use Raven's Claw, which maybe I shouldn't do because this is a little risky. This is not a strong fleet, and the Silencer can still do a lot of damage, especially with the preloaded turn meter. And you can see how much damage they did on Biston. But we are able to get through the silencer pretty quickly, and now they're not a threat for making too much more damage or progress. You can see I don't even waste my time with Phantom. I just don't think it adds enough, whereas we were going to get buff immunity with Wedge, and that's going to hurt the command shuttle. Because it's not going to get the protection up. But now we've lost 2 ships. But you can see, like, even with this wounded Finalizer squad, we don't get too much progress out of the Raven's Claw itself. And it's why, like, everyone is certain that Red 5 is going to come along to make the Raven's Claw a more viable fleet and give us this, like, X-Wing squadron. And now as we progress down here, now we're going to do the hard part of this Grand Arena. These are the parts where I don't have enough good counters now, and I'm a little worried about this, because I actually really would have benefited from having Maul. If I had Maul and not CLS, we would be good. Now, we're going to do Starkiller JML. This is the safest of all these, but it's still something I don't feel too great about because I don't have relics on my visas. And usually what will happen is I will lose my visas in these kinds of matches, and I tend to like these JML counters more when Jedi Knight Revan isn't present. So just driving the assists so we can get to the Starkiller's ability to Starkiller and Unleashed as quickly as possible. I think my Palpatine's at Relic 6 right now, but I mean, I'll be taking him to higher relics for Sith Eternal Emperor, but for this counter alone, just having him be even slightly more survivable with Relic 7 would be in my interest, because you can see even in here we almost lost him. He's vulnerable enough where he could fall away, and if he's gone, then this becomes a lot harder. But it all goes smoothly, and now we have JML to take out one of these 2 squads, and we need Grand Inquisitor to try and take out the JMK squad. So I'm starting here. This is a really weak counter, but it's my best option, and it's something where if I had not made the switch I made on defense, we would have been fine. I just don't have the counters I need for this particular match. And not having those key counters is going to be a problem. And it's something where I just need to have a better Grievous. And then I don't need to have Grievous on defense. But it's also a question of I already have a soft defense. And my Grievous squad actually gets me holds on occasion. So it's not something I'm looking to get rid of. But what you're really seeing here is why this is a weak counter for Starkiller. And I've said in the past how Maul and CLS, they counter a lot of similar things. This is one of the exceptions. So that is not good for me. So now we gotta go on this JMK and see if we can get some luck on JMK so that I can try and use JML up against Starkiller, but that's not even good to do because Starkiller can take out a JML. So we do have the proper Datacron for Grand Inquisitor, which I guess should be stated because without it, JMK is still going to not have issues, won't have issues with Grand Inquisitor. You need that Datacron to have a chance. But in order for this to work, you need to get through Kenobi really quick. And this being a Relic 8 Kenobi, that's already looking to be a little tough, and Torture has now come off. And we have not triggered the revive yet. Gonna land the buff. We didn't even get the buff immunity, it looks like. So we're back to 6 stacks, trying to get my assists, but we're making really slow work. And then he gets the ultimate off. So right when we're about to make some progress on Kenobi, we don't get there. And this is fairly well modded, his Kenobi squad. My Grand Inquisitor squad's pretty well modded too. I think nearly everyone is over 300 speed. Inquisitors are pretty easy to get pretty fast. And now we lost Grand Inquisitor himself, and at this point it's done. There's no chance. There's no point in even continuing. And now we're really in a disaster scenario. Now we have to use JML. And there's the question of what do we use up against Starkiller? Because we got nothing left to really throw at Starkiller. Because I'm going to have to use all my good Jedi with JML. Because we can't really afford to risk throwing some Jedi with Starkiller when they probably wouldn't even win anyway. Like, at best case scenario, we take out somebody. So I'm trying to make some choices because I want to land ability block, and I don't want to do the AoE with all the foresight there because I just feel like it's not really going to help us. So I wait, let the foresight be eliminated. They're going. Just driving the what is it? The Jedi teachings. Now we do our AoE, hit our stuns, and we're focused on Cat. We've lost our Yoda, but we've got our ultimate. Mark Ahsoka again. You can just see the recovery on the squad. It's really annoying. We're really struggling to get through any of these characters. Get our stuns, which should help. I'm calling Jolie for the assist because I want him to bring back my Revan. I should be clicking on Cat because I must not have been allowed to because we can click around taunts now. No, okay. I did one turn mishap of just forgetting that I could get around the taunt. Now we're looking like we're about to hit disaster. Now we've hit the disaster. And you can see, this is like one of those reasons why I need more high relic 8s. Or relic 9s. Like my JML should be higher. The fact that this JMK and GK are both at relic 8s, it's caused problems in this match where I just could not have the damage output I needed in order to deal with it. So now we're in a scenario where that's not going to be an option. And I'm just going to throw in some things. What am I looking for right now? All right, this is a little Hail Mary thing where this is one for me sometimes and other times it doesn't. It has really low percentages. I don't understand why it works sometimes and other times it doesn't. But really, you need high tenacity or to take enough turns for the tenacity to ramp up before the staggers and the shock can land to cause problems. But we don't get what we need. I think when I have one with it, I've been going up against slower Starkiller squads. That's what I think. But you can really quit this video now because I think maybe we take out somebody. I don't remember. This is a mistake. Oh, I do have Aphra right now. Never mind. I thought he didn't have Aphra. That must have been the previous week. So we will throw in Aphra, so you can stick around and see that. But we are not clearing this board. I should not have Nest here. The thinking was they would probably be able to take out Nest regardless, and they do. But Nest compromises Hondo's ability to get doing his thing and become a threat. Now, the thinking was Nest would, and maybe it's true, Nest surviving and taking those hits did allow Hondo to survive long enough for at least the ransom to come off and for Hondo to start being more effective. You can see that like it was kind of working, but Nest needed to have been gone for Hondo to get the full benefits of his unique, which don't happen. So it's something where I wonder, had Nest not been there, would it have been more effective? Because Hondo then, you could see the damage he was doing on Palpatine. It was kind of working. Maybe at Relic 7, maybe even with the Datacron, that would have worked for me. The only issue I have with the Datacron is I gotta have other Relic characters to pair with him, and I just don't know if I have enough extra Relic characters to throw with them. Because I'm usually pairing him with a bunch of weak characters that don't have relics. There's just too many AoEs for this to work. I'm just trying it because I don't have really anything left. This is one of the more effective squads I have left. Really just hoping for a miracle, but we don't really even take a turn. Now I'm sure I do Aphra and then I'll be done. But she's gear 10 and very weak at this point. Maybe with Chrysanthemum it'd be something. But because this squad's not really ready to go, I haven't even put the best mods on them, and you can see they just are ripped apart. There's nothing here. Maybe a faster Aphra would have had a shot. I mean, I think she would have had more of a shot had they been at relics. And what am I gonna do here? I'm just kind of curious what I'm gonna. Nah, we're done. This is a waste. Oh, apparently we're throwing in Jawas. This is the kind of waste that I do like to showcase. But they take out Scavenger right away, so we can't even do anything fun. So you can see we lost by a bunch. It's like 122 banners. We needed to clear more. Even if we had been more efficient, it wouldn't have mattered. We still needed to have cleaned, taken out. And it's just the fleet territory is not worth as much. So we can't really... make up for that. So, tough match, really solid performance by my opponent with the defense that he set down. What it really shows is how critical it is to make sure you have enough of the right counters. Because I had a lot of strong options, but I didn't have them all at the right levels in order for them to perform the way that they needed to perform. And the biggest mistake of all was taking CLS off of defense and swapping it with Maul. Because had I had Maul, we would have at least cleared the Starkiller squad. We probably would have still failed up against that JMK, so we would not have gotten back to the back wall, but that alone would have put us in a better position. We wouldn't have been stopped by two things. It's one thing for GL to stop you, but to be held up by other squads it can be tough. And we will wrap it up there. We're already into the second match of the final week of Grand Arena. I'm just going to be releasing one of these a day until we're caught up. Then we got Conquest going on, and the Conquest takes so much time. There's a lot of things that I want to prioritize for you guys, and hopefully we will get there. Not getting to the output that I want to be doing at this point, but trying to balance the real life work and this work and get this channel growing. But thank you for all of the support. Thank you for watching. Be safe out there, everyone. Be excellent to each other. This is Still Plays Galaxy of Heroes.